The stars near the Perseus Veil looked empty on every galactic map that existed outside human space. To the Galactic Coalition, that region was marked with soft warning colors and short notes that said unstable, unclaimed, unnecessary. Most captains never questioned it. They trusted the map more than their own eyes. Maps had guided the galaxy for thousands of cycles. Maps were law. Koresh trusted the map as well. He stood on the command platform of his flagship and looked at the glowing star field ahead. His posture was proud and relaxed. This route would save weeks of travel and place him ahead of rival commanders. Prestige mattered in the coalition. Being first mattered even more. The junior navigator Tylo shifted uneasily beside the navigation console. The stars ahead felt wrong. He could not explain it clearly, but the patterns did not match what he had studied. Small variations were normal, yet this felt deeper, like a song played with the wrong rhythm. "The map confirms empty space," Koresh said. His voice was calm and sharp. "Proceed at standard drift." Tylo hesitated, then obeyed. The fleet moved forward, slipping past the last marked boundary on the coalition map. The symbol that ended known territory faded behind them not far away. In a quiet human monitoring station hidden between cold stars, Kang Jisoo watched a screen fill with soft red warnings. He was not a soldier in the traditional sense. He was a cartographer, trained to read space like language. Where others saw stars, he saw meaning. "Another one," he said quietly. Choi Era stood beside him, arms folded, eyes focused. She was an analyst who specialized in foreign signal patterns. "Coalition signatures," she replied. "Military grade." They crossed again. Jisoo nodded. This was not new. For months, probes and ships had vanished near the edge of human space. Some drifted back broken. Others never returned at all. The galaxy assumed humans were hiding something. Humans did not correct them. He opened a secure channel. "Notify Patrol Command." Pattern confirmed. They are using old maps. On another layer of space, unseen by coalition sensors, human infrastructure stirred. Gravity anchors adjusted their fields. Navigation beacons shifted tone and timing. Nothing aggressive. Nothing obvious. Just enough. Han Mira guided her patrol craft along a dark lane that did not exist on any foreign chart. She flew calmly, one hand resting on the control ring. She did not see the coalition fleet directly. She felt it, the way a pilot feels pressure before a storm. "Multiple mass entries detected," she reported. "No hostile action yet." Park Hyun-woo's reply came steady and clear. "Maintain observation. No engagement unless ordered." Humans had learned long ago that first contact did not need weapons. It needed patience. Inside Koresh's flagship, the first problem appeared small. A minor sensor flicker. Then another. The navigation system corrected itself automatically. Koresh dismissed it without concern. Ti. Elo frowned. "Commander, the stellar drift is inconsistent." "Space is inconsistent," Koresh replied. "That is why maps exist." But the corrections grew more frequent. Ships in the outer formation adjusted course slightly, then again. No alarm sounded, yet tension crept in. Unknown to them, they were passing through layered human signal fog. It was not a wall. It was a suggestion. It nudged systems to trust false reference points. The fleet followed without realizing it. Back at the human station, Jisoo traced projected paths with slow movements. "They think they are moving straight," he said. "They are not." Era glanced at him. "Do we warn them?" "Not yet," Jisoo replied. "They need to understand where they are." For humans, space was not empty. It was shaped. Years of survival on a dangerous home world had taught them respect for unseen forces. They treated space the same way. Koresh finally noticed the silence. External comms returned nothing but soft static. He turned sharply. Restore contact. Technicians worked quickly. Commander, signals are being reflected back at us. Like an echo. Koresh's eyes narrowed. From where? No one answered. The stars outside the viewport seemed unchanged, yet something felt closer, tighter. Tilo's breathing grew shallow. The constellations, he whispered. They are repeating. Koresh stepped forward. He stared at the patterns. For the first time, doubt touched him. Maps did not repeat stars. Maps did not lie like this, and a new signal appeared. Clean. Human. This is a human patrol craft, Han Mira said evenly. You are inside regulated human navigation space. Reduce velocity and hold position. The bridge fell silent. Koresh straightened. Human space does not exist on Coalition charts. That is correct, Mira replied. That is why you are lost. Koresh felt anger rise. We claim no territory violation. This region is unmarked. Unmarked does not mean unowned, Mira said. It means you were not invited. Before Koresh could answer, the fleet shuddered. Not violently. Precisely. Ships slowed together, as if caught by an invisible current. Olo stared at the controls. We are not being pulled. We are being guided. Koresh finally understood that force was not being used. Control was far away. Jisoo watched the fleet settle into the holding pattern designed long before this day. He exhaled slowly. They reached the lesson point. Era looked at the display. Do you think they will listen? Jisoo answered softly. If they do not, they will learn anyway. Beyond the stars, the galaxy believed the map ended at human space. Humans knew better. The map ended because they decided where it stopped. The Coalition fleet hung in space, as if caught in slow-moving wire. Engines responded, but only within limits they did not understand. Koresh ordered power checks again and again, yet every system reported normal function. Nothing was broken. Nothing was damaged. That made the situation worse. Ho studied the navigation display with shaking focus. The map kept updating itself, correcting stars that should not move. Each correction made the picture less familiar. Commander, he said carefully, the reference points are changing faster than our systems can learn them. Koresh did not reply at once. He stared at the human patrol craft, now visible on the main screen. It was small compared to his flagship. No weapons were deployed. No aggressive posture was shown. The calm of it felt like mockery. Open a channel, Koresh said. The signal connected instantly, as if it had been waiting. This is Coalition Commander Koresh, he announced. You have interfered with lawful navigation. Release our fleet. Han Mira listened without changing expression. She had heard many versions of the same demand. Your fleet entered regulated space without clearance, she replied. Navigation assistance was applied to prevent loss of life. Koresh's mandibles tightened. Assistance that removes our control is an act of force. Force would have damaged you, Mira said. You are intact. Silence followed. Koresh did not like logic that worked against him. Behind Mira, unseen but close, other human ships held position in quiet coordination. They formed patterns that did not look like formations. They looked random. That randomness was intentional. At the human monitoring station. Choi Era listened to the exchange while reading live data. They are confused, she said, but not afraid yet. Kang Jisoo nodded. They trust authority too much. When authority fails, fear comes later. He adjusted a display that showed the layered structure of human space. Lanes overlapped. Anchors bent gravity in subtle curves. Beacons whispered timing signals instead of shouting location. None of it appeared on foreign sensors as threat, Back on the Coalition flagship, a new problem emerged. A supply ship reported minor collision damage. Two others reported near misses with objects that did not appear on scanners. There is nothing there. An officer insisted. There is something, Tylo said softly. We just cannot see it. Koresh turned on him sharply. Enough speculation? But even as he spoke, the fleet drifted again, aligning itself into a loose spiral. No order had been given. No engine burn recorded. What is happening? Koresh demanded. Tylo swallowed. We are following the safest path. That is not an answer. It is, Tylo said, surprising himself. The system is choosing for us. Across the void, Han Mira watched the data flow. They are resisting less, she reported. Park Hyan-Wu's voice came through. Good. Maintain guidance. No escalation. Humans did not rush victory. They shaped outcomes. Another human ship moved closer, projecting a wide field of stable navigation signals. Coalition vessels that touched the edge of the field stopped drifting and held steady. Relief spread through their crews. Koresh noticed. You are proving my point, he said to Mira. You control this region. Yes, Mira replied simply. Then why hide it from the map? Mira paused for a fraction of a second. We did not hide, she said. You stopped asking. The word struck harder than any weapon. At the station, Jisoo leaned back. Send the historical packet, he said. Era transmitted a compressed data stream toward the fleet. It contained records of early human expansion, lost ships, broken colonies, entire crews erased by careless mapping and false assumptions. Til. Received the packet first. He read in silence as images and logs filled his console. Humans had entered space late. They had no ancient charts. They survived by learning how space behaved, not how it looked. Koresh skimmed the data with impatience. Irrelevant history. It explains the methods, Tylo said. They do not draw borders. They build conditions. Koresh hesitated. He did not like how calm the humans remained. He did not like that his fleet still existed only because they allowed it. Coalition law demands shared mapping. Koresh said, You are in violation. Yoon Sejin's voice joined the channel, smooth and controlled. Coalition law applies within coalition-recognized space, she said. This is outside it. Koresh reacted instantly. You admit this space is unclaimed? No, Sejin replied. Unrecognized. The distinction mattered. Around the fleet, space seemed to tighten again. Not dangerously. Just enough to remind them. Tilo watched a nearby ship lose orientation briefly before stabilizing. Fear finally reached him. Commander, he said, we should comply. Koresh stared at the stars. His ambition warred with survival. We will not kneel, he said. Prepare weapons. Several officers froze. The moment weapons powered up, human systems responded. Not with fire, with silence. Coalition targeting systems lost lock entirely. Power drains spiked, then flattened. Hanmira's voice returned. Weapons are unnecessary, she said. Stand down. Koresh felt something unfamiliar settle in his core. Helplessness. At the station, Era exhaled slowly. They tested the boundary. Jisoo nodded. And found it. Human fleets did not appear in waves. They appeared exactly where needed. Coalition sensors finally detected them. Dozens of signatures resolving from background noise. Not surrounding. Not threatening. Simply present. Til. Looked around the bridge. He saw fear now, raw and honest. He saw respect forming beneath it. Koresh lowered his head slightly. What do you want? He asked. Sejin answered. To prevent you from dying because of an old map. Silence followed. Engines powered down across the Coalition fleet. One by one, ships accepted the guidance field fully. Far beyond, unseen and unmentioned, human exploration craft continued moving past the very edge of this controlled zone. They mapped nothing for others. They learned for themselves. The lessons spread quietly through space. The map did not end because humans could not go further. It ended because others should not. The Coalition fleet remained still, held gently within the human guidance field. Time passed differently when nothing moved. For crews trained on rigid schedules and fixed routes, the waiting became heavier than battle. Koresh stood at the viewport longer than before. The stars no longer looked like a map. They looked deep, layered, and watching. He understood now that the humans did not block space. They shaped it, like water guided by stone. Tylo worked quietly at his station, recording every change. He noticed that the human signals were not constant. They adjusted to each ship, each mass, each energy output. It was personal control on a fleet scale. "Commander," Tylo said at last, "they are tracking us as individuals." Koresh did not turn. "That is impossible." "It is already happening," Tylo replied. "They know where we will drift before we do." On the human side, Park Hyun-woo watched the same data from a broader view. The Coalition ships were settling into stable paths, no longer fighting the guidance. Compliance reduced strain on both sides. "They are adapting," he said. Yoon Sejin nodded. "Understanding follows fear." She prepared another message, not for Koresh alone, but for the wider Coalition network. It would take time to spread, but time was something humans controlled here. Across the void, human fleets became clearer to Coalition sensors. The shapes were strange. Ships varied in size and design, some clearly old, others sharply modern. There was no uniform appearance, no single doctrine visible. "That is disorder," one Coalition officer muttered. Tilo shook his head slowly. "No, that is freedom." Koresh heard him but said nothing. A nearby Coalition cruiser requested assistance. Its crew reported rising stress levels and spatial disorientation. Human guidance responded instantly, smoothing the local field. The ship stabilized. "They are helping us," Tylo said. "They are controlling you." Koresh snapped. "Both can be true," Tylo answered. The words lingered. At the monitoring station, Kang Jisoo updated the projected outcomes. "They will survive," he said. "Most of them." Era glanced at him. "Most. Some lessons cost more," Jisoo replied quietly. He remembered old records. Early human explorers had paid those costs in full. No one had guided them. No one had warned them. That memory shaped everything humans did now. On the Coalition flagship, Koresh finally accepted another transmission from the humans. This time, it carried more than words. It carried context. Images of human colonies appeared. Not grand cities, but scattered habitats clinging to harsh worlds. Logs described storms, radiation surges, gravity faults, and navigation failures. Survival came through adjustment, not domination. "These are not military records," Koresh said. "No," Sejin replied. "They are reasons." Koresh watched a human pilot manually adjust a ship through a collapsing corridor of space. He saw mistakes, fear, loss, and learning. "You built all this," Koresh said slowly, "because space tried to kill you." "Yes," Sejin said. "And it still tries." Silence followed. Not hostile, reflective. Farther out, another Coalition task group approached the region, unaware of what waited. Automated warnings activated, subtle and indirect. Their maps insisted on a clear path. Hyun-woo noticed the signatures. "More incoming," he said. "Do they know?" Myra asked. "They will," Hyun-woo replied. Human patrol craft shifted position. Not to block, to teach. The second group entered the outer guidance layer and immediately lost formation integrity. Panic messages burst across Coalition channels. The First Fleet heard them. Tilo listened to the fear in those voices and felt his own solidify into resolve. "Commander," he said, "we should tell them." Koresh hesitated, then opened a channel. His voice carried strain, but also authority. "You are entering human-controlled space," he warned. "Reduce speed. Follow the signals." The response was disbelief, then shock, then grudging compliance. On the human side, Era allowed herself a small smile. "They are spreading the warning themselves." "That is how maps change," Jisoo said. Koresh realized what he had done. He had become part of the human boundary without choosing to be. The thought burned, yet also relieved him. More human ships appeared, always just enough. They never crowded, never threatened. Coalition captains began to recognize patterns, to trust the guidance instead of fight. Aiello felt something shift inside him. Respect replaced fear. Curiosity replaced anger. "Commander," he said softly, "the map was wrong." Koresh closed his eyes briefly. The map was incomplete. Seijin heard the words and nodded. Progress. She transmitted a final message to the Coalition Council. It was simple. It did not accuse or threaten. Human space is defined by navigation capability, not by lines on a chart. Entry without understanding will result in loss of control, but not unnecessary destruction. The message spread. Coalition ships began withdrawing under human guidance, exiting the region safely, but changed. Their sensors recorded data that did not fit old systems. At the edge of the zone, the guidance slowly released them. Control returned. Stars behaved normally again. Koresh watched as the last anchor effect faded. "You could have destroyed us," he said to Mira. "Yes," she replied. "Why did you not?" "Because then you would only fear us," Mira said. "Now you will remember us." The fleet jumped away, carrying stories instead of victory. In quiet human space, patrol ships returned to low activity. Anchors relaxed. Beacons retuned. Jisoo logged the event without ceremony. Another reminder added to the invisible border. Beyond even that, human exploration vessels continued moving forward, adjusting, learning, surviving. The galaxy would redraw its map soon. Humans would not bother to check them. News of the incident spread across the coalition, faster than official channels could control. Crews talked. Navigators compared sensor logs. Captains argued over old assumptions that no longer held. The phrase human space began to appear in reports, even though no clear border could be drawn. Virel watched these reports from a quiet observation vessel assigned to survey damage and collect testimony. Virel had been cautious all their life. Caution had kept them alive. Now caution told them the galaxy had misunderstood humans. The data was strange. Ships that followed the guidance survived without damage. Ships that resisted lost control quickly. None were destroyed unless they forced the issue. The pattern was clear. Virel requested a direct exchange with the humans. On the human side, Yoon Seijin received the request and considered it carefully. "They are ready to listen," she said. Park Hyun-woo agreed. "Open a controlled channel. No demonstrations." The connection formed in a shared neutral layer, where human systems reduced their influence to the minimum needed for safety. Virel felt the difference at once. Space felt less tight, more honest. "This is Virel," they said. "Survey leader. I wish to understand your boundary." Seijin answered calmly. "We do not have a boundary in the way you expect." "That is the problem," Virel replied. "Without lines, others will cross." Seijin did not argue. "Lines fail when conditions change," she said. "We learned that early." Virel studied the shared display Seijin transmitted. It showed moving layers, not fixed zones. Navigation depended on mass, energy use, timing, and behavior. Every ship created its own path. You control this constantly, Virel said. We maintain it, Sagan replied. Control suggests force. Maintenance suggests care. Virel considered that. Elsewhere, Koresh faced judgment. The Coalition Council demanded explanation for the failure. He stood before them with fewer words than before. The map was wrong, Koresh said. Not empty. Not weak. Different. Some council members scoffed. Others listened. They did not attack, Koresh continued. They removed our choices until we stopped making dangerous ones. That statement caused discomfort. Choice was sacred to the Coalition. Losing it without violence felt worse than defeat. Back in human space, Han Mira guided her craft along a familiar dark lane. She felt the systems relax as traffic cleared. For her, the incident was another patrol, another proof that the old methods worked. Boundary stable, she reported. Hyunwoo acknowledged. Good work. Farther out, Lee Doyan monitored anchor performance. His role was quiet but critical. The anchors bent gravity just enough to make careless travel impossible. They had been refined over generations. Anchor strain normal, he said. No permanent distortion. Humans did not scar space. They tuned it. Virel's exchange with Sagan continued for hours. Questions replaced accusations. Answers came without pride. You could sell this, Virel said at one point. Control the galaxy. Sagan shook her head. Most would misuse it. Then blame us. Virel understood. Power shared without understanding became disaster. In the Coalition Council chamber, debate grew heated. Merchants demanded safe passage guarantees. Commanders demanded equal access to mapping data. Koresh listened and said nothing until asked directly. What do you advise? The council press. Karesh spoke slowly. Respect. Learn their methods. Or stay away. The room fell quiet. Virel sent a final request to the humans. A treaty proposal. Not for shared control. For shared warning. Sagan reviewed it with Hyunwoo and Jisoo. They want markers. Era said. Markers can be ignored, Jisoo replied. But guidance can be requested, Sagan said. Voluntary. They agreed. The response went out across open channels. Any non-human vessel approaching human-influenced space would receive a simple signal offering navigation assistance. Acceptance was optional. Consequences were not hidden. Coalition reactions varied. Some praised the clarity. Others called it quiet dominance. But ships stopped vanishing. Virel watched the first merchant convoy accept the guidance and pass safely through the outer layers. Relief spread among the crews. This will change trade, Virel said. Yes, Sagan replied. And behavior. Beyond all this, human exploration craft continued forward. They crossed regions the Coalition had never named. They adjusted anchors on the fly, learned new patterns, and moved on. They did not announce discoveries. They logged lessons. At the human station, Jisoo updated internal records. He did not draw new lines. He added notes about traffic behavior and response times. Era watched him work. The galaxy will redraw the map again, she said. Jisoo nodded. They always do. And it will still be wrong. Yes, he said calmly. But safer. Virel sent one last message before disconnecting. The map ends at your space, they said. But not because there is nothing beyond. Sagan smiled faintly. Correct. It ends, Virel finished, because others are not ready. The channel closed. Space settled back into quiet motion. Anchors held. Beacons whispered. Human space remained open to those who listened and closed to those who did not. Far beyond the last accepted signal. A human ship adjusted course and moved onward, carrying no flag and no map. Only experience. The galaxy would remember the lesson. Humans would continue the work. Time passed, and the galaxy adjusted, Coalition traffic reports changed tone. Where once there were gaps and losses, there were now notes of guidance accepted and passage completed. Captains shared experiences in quiet channels. Those who listened traveled safely. Those who ignored warnings found themselves slowed, redirected, or held until they understood. The new coalition map showed a clear boundary at the edge of human influence. It was not a hard line. It was shaded, layered, and marked with simple text that said regulated by capability. The phrase caused debate, but it stayed. Virel studied the updated map from their observation vessel. "It is still wrong," they said softly. That was not criticism. It was recognition. On Earth, Kang Jisoo reviewed the same map and felt nothing. Human records did not depend on foreign charts. They depended on behavior, patterns, and responsibility. He logged another cycle of stable traffic and closed the file. Choi Era leaned back from her console. "Requests for guidance are increasing," she said. "Voluntary." Jisoo nodded. "That is the only kind that lasts." In human space, patrol routines returned to normal. Han Mira flew her usual routes, responding to calls and watching for anomalies. She noticed fewer mistakes now, fewer panicked turns. Ships slowed before entering complex layers. "People are learning," she said during a routine check. Park Hyun-woo replied, "Learning is cheaper than rescue." At a distant coalition hub, Koresh stood before a smaller audience. He no longer chased prestige. He trained navigators. He taught them how to read uncertainty instead of deny it. "The map is a suggestion," he told them. "Reality decides." Some laughed. Others listened. Those who listened survived longer. Trade adapted. Convoys scheduled guidance windows. Independent captains requested escort signals. Insurance rates dropped. Quiet respect replaced loud complaint. Virel traveled to several systems, collecting testimony. Everywhere, the story was the same. Humans did not demand tribute. They did not enforce ideology. They enforced physics, patience, and consequence. They treat space like a living thing. One captain said, "They treat mistakes as teachers." Another added, "Virel compiled the reports and sent them to the council." The conclusion was careful but firm. Human space was not an obstacle. It was a filter. Back near the Perseus Veil, Lee Do-yeon adjusted anchor arrays as traffic patterns changed. He worked with quiet pride. Each adjustment reduced risk for everyone, human and non-human alike. "Anchors responding well," he reported. Hyun-woo answered. "Good. Keep it gentle." Humans remembered what it was like to have no help. Yoon Sejin prepared a final address to the coalition, not as a warning, but as closure. The message was short. Human space is open to those who respect how it works. We do not claim the stars. We maintain the paths. The response was mixed, but steady. No fleets challenged the boundary again. Far beyond the regulated layers. A human exploration vessel drifted through uncharted systems. Its crew worked without urgency. They tested signals, adjusted fields, and recorded behavior. When space resisted, they listened. They did not mark ownership. They marked understanding. Back at the human station, Jisoo watched the explorers' progress through delayed feeds. "They are far out," Era said. "Yes," Jisoo replied. "And they will go farther. Will we ever draw the line for good?" Jisoo smiled faintly. Lines end growth. The galaxy continued to redraw its maps. Each version pushed the human boundary a little farther, then stopped again. No one could say exactly why it stopped where it did. They only knew what happened if they ignored it. Children in distant systems learned a simple lesson in navigation schools. When you reach human space, slow down and ask. Virel visited Earth once, quietly and with permission. They walked through a human city and watched ordinary people live under an ordinary sky. You came from this, Virel said to Sajin. A world that tries to kill you. Yes, Sajin replied. It taught us to care. Virel looked up at the stars above the city. The map ends at your space, they said again. Sajin shook her head. No, the map ends where certainty ends. Virel understood Dot as cycles passed. Stories replaced fear. The tale of the lost fleets became the tale of the guided ones. The price paid was remembered, but so was the mercy shown. Humans continued their quiet work. They maintained anchors. They tuned beacons. They trained pilots to feel space instead of fight it. Beyond every known edge. They moved forward, not to conquer, but to survive and learn. The galaxy learned to stop at human space. Humans never did.